Trading in the direction of the trend will always make you more money from the markets. But how? How do you identify that trend on the larger degree and the lower degree to really ride the trend till its end? Well, today I'm going to show you the number one tool that I've found on the market, and it's cheap as chips. So if you like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. We're going to look at 3 assets today: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. So this is the new chart setup, and I got Bitcoin showing on the right, and we got a trend dashboard in the top left. How do I know it's the best on the market? Because I've used my 15 years of experience to create it. And what it does is it tells us the higher degree time frame. So we're looking at a weekly and a daily. Now we can change these to like an hourly and 15 minutes, etc. But what I'm looking for is the macro trend. And the way we've built this dashboard is to tell us what we should consider doing when the trends are not pointing in the same direction and when they are pointing in the same direction. So you can see here it says stand aside for Ethereum and Bitcoin, whereas for Litecoin, it actually says consider buying. And by the way, you can now access this for £1. We've made it incredible value. You can test it out. We've just launched this. We're very excited to get some fantastic feedback. You also get some signals, and you just get a lot of value. So check it out. It's £1, and you get a 30-day trial. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to actually use this now to help me, right? So I got Bitcoin on the right-hand side. I got Bitcoin. We're going to look at Ethereum, and we're going to look at Litecoin. So when I'm looking at the trend identifier dashboard, it says, look, the weekly downside is limited, right? That's a good thing from a bullish perspective. But the current daily trend is overbought. And what it tells me is its upside is also limited. So downside is limited, but the upside is limited. In other words, there's a conflict of information. So that's not highly probable right now. It's not highly probable, so we want to stand aside. So let's just break this down now from a pattern position. So when I'm looking at the chart on the right-hand side, and even when I zoom in over here, this could potentially be some type of A, B, C correction. And at that point, the market tends to reverse. So what I want to wait for is for a bull trend like this to show up here. So just so you know how it works, if I just pull up the indicator, it's basically this over here. This indicator is what produces the signal and the information. And I've programmed it in a way which just gives us layman's terms information. So what I would like to see with Bitcoin, and I want to evaluate or reevaluate the market, is when this comes down here and the blue line comes over here, that's when this will change to be bullish. And then it will say consider buying like this. And we want to then consider what is the pattern position, and does it look good, and has it gone below this point, and is there going to be some buying opportunities, and what do we look for? So another thing I just want to quickly just jump into is, trends are very powerful and momentums are very powerful. But if you can take it into the context of pattern position as well and price position, it can make a massive difference. So I just wanted to quickly just jump into an hourly chart with Bitcoin, because the particular pattern unfolding, which we've been paying very close attention to. And again, we want to be aware of this. A bit of detail here, but it's important. We had this 5-wave movement to the upside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Markets tend to move in 5s and 3s. We had this nice 3-wave correction, A, B, C. And we've got this another 5-wave move to the upside. It looks like some type of 1, 2, potential 3, 4, and then an overextended 5, right? That's what it looks like. And this actually breaks down to a 5 in itself. So the fact that the momentum on the daily is telling us, hey, gear, upside is probably limited. The pattern looks like another 5-wave trend. So I want to now just be patient and wait for the next bullish reversal on the daily to see what does it look like. So we can use this in many different ways and shapes and forms. But what I personally want to see is, from a bullish standpoint, in the ideal world, the price won't close into this range, right? The reason being is, if the price closes, it's called a wave overlap. So if it overlaps into this range, that's a sign of weakness. The sign of weakness, and it's probably not going to be great conditions for buying. So when we do get the next bullish reversal, we also want to see, does it close into this range? If it does, we need to consider, is it worth taking a long trade? So that's Bitcoin. Now let's just jump into Ethereum, right? So we're going to jump into Ethereum. Keep the chart set up the same. Ethereum looks almost identical to Bitcoin, right? if we look at it again, it looks like this nice three-wave structure. But in this zone right now, the momentum is something called overbought, and it's strong overbought. That's just an extra filter that I added. And so it tells me that the upside is limited. So right now is not the ideal time to consider buying. So the way I've put the dashboard together is to instruct us to stand aside. Now we can look at a lower degree time frame. There might be some shorter term opportunities, but we want to look at the macro and the intermediate trend. And right now, saying, look, Ethereum might not be in the best position right now for an immediate trade on the long side. So we just want to wait. So the bigger degree is bullish, so it's an uptrend. We want to wait for the smaller degree to become an uptrend also, and then just review the pattern position. So now let's just go to the Litecoin. So you can see Litecoin over here, and it tells us that the weekly is on a bull trend, the daily is on a bull uptrend. So now that they're pointing in the same direction, we want to consider buying. Now the reason I've written the word consider, because momentum can be a powerful strategy by itself. However, if you can get the confluence of events with pattern position, price position, and a few other factors, it can stack the odds massively in your favor, because we're in the business of probabilities, right? We love to have certainty, but we don't. So that's why we have to have acceptable capital exposure, risk management, and so on and so forth. So we're going to stack the odds in our favor. So now let's just jump into Litecoin. So if I just pull up Litecoin over here, right? So if we're this close to the market, we go, well, where should we buy? Where should we sell? So we also, with the trend identifier, have these signals on the chart itself, which are buy-sell signals. Now, it's basically this information given on the chart itself, so we can see more clearly what's happening. And by the way, if you want to get access to this, we're doing it. It's a £1 trial for 30 days. You can track up to 20 different assets, buy, sell signals. We have a foundation training. Our community is absolutely loving it, and you get just a load of bonuses. The link's in below. Check it out. I've recorded a short video as well, how it all kind of works and comes together. So I think you'll get a massive amount of value from this. So with Litecoin, what I want to do is I want to now look at the double time frame momentum, which is the dashboard. It says consider buying. But now I'm going to do some analysis on pattern position and just look at a bit more detail. So let's just zoom out a bit with Litecoin. Let's just zoom out a bit and let's just see what is this looking like. I'm going to zoom out over here. I covered this in a bit of detail on my Saturday workshop. If you're in my private community, we do weekend workshops. It's all included. We just give so much value. It's incredible. So when I'm looking at this with Litecoin, I want to be unbiased, right? So the dashboard says consider buying. There is some short-term buying opportunities over here because the market's probably going to move into this range over here. But we want to take it into context with everything else. So, because sometimes even when the momentum is in your favor, you have to make a business decision. Is this amount of movement worth the risk? And where it's likely to be an end of some type of correction? And is it worthwhile waiting for it to turn bearish? So let me just tell you what I'm talking about here. So we've got this nice move to the downside, and it looks like a pretty clean, if I can draw it here, a pretty clean wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, a wave 4, and a wave 5, right? So that's pretty clean, right? We don't even need to zoom out even more. We can just kind of go look at that and go, it's a pretty impulsive move to the downside. And what does this current move to the upside look like? Well, to me, it looks like some type of wave A, B, and a potential end of a C. So even though there's some long opportunities here, it looks like it's an end of a correction, right? When I'm just looking at it objectively, unemotionally. So some good opportunities to make some money short term. But I am actually looking at this going, oh, actually, do you know what? I don't know if I want to take this long position because the upside, even though there's some upside potential, is likely to be limited, right? Based on what I'm seeing over here. So let's just do a bit of basic analysis. We're going to do something called a fib retracement, where basically markets tend to correct in particular ratios. And the most common is 50%, right? And we can see that's right into this zone over here. Also, wave A's and wave C's tend to have a particular relationship with one another. And the typical maximum is 1.618. So this is a highly probable zone. If you're going to take a long, just be on high alert that you want to be risk-free in this kind of zone over here. And what we're going to finish on with Litecoin is this part of the market. Now, if you know anything about Elliott waves and you've done any of my training, you hear me speak about this time and time again, where wave C's tend to break down to a 5-wave structure. So what are we looking at here with this long potential opportunity? Well, it looks like a 5-wave structure, and I don't know if you can see it. So let me just put some closing data here. It might be cleaner for you to see, maybe not. So let's just look at it like this. So to me, it looks like we've got this initial move up, a wave 1, a potential wave 2. Might be a wave 3 or a wave 3 forming over here, but this is the obvious one right now. Some type of wave 4, and then it might be a wave 5 of a wave C. Right? This is quite common, and being able to identify end of wave 5s that coincide with the dashboard, the trend indicator, can be incredibly powerful. So you're seeing the future. So before something actually occurs, I'm just changing the color so we can see this, right? So now it looks like, okay, there is some upside potential, but it might be limited. It might be limited to this range. So then you can look at this and go, is it worth me taking this trade? Well, maybe not on a daily time frame, but you can drop down to a lower degree. And what do I mean by that? So let's just quickly do that. Actually, let's just do it over here. I'm gonna bring up a dashboard. I'm gonna change the settings. I'm gonna change the settings to we got it as Litecoin. Let's just change the time frame to a 4-hour chart. So what you can do is when you're looking at trends, you can have, I always have 2 time frames as a minimum. Weekly and daily is the most common, but then you can have a daily and hourly, or a 4-hour and an hourly. So what we can do is let's make the higher time frame daily. And by the way, with the trend identifier, you can change all these settings yourself. And then let's put the lower time frame as an hourly time frame. Right, so we're going to look at this like from this context. And then let's just go to an hourly chart itself as well. So we can look at this with just a new frame of reference. So now when we're looking at this, I just want to squeeze this in like so. Is what does the pattern position look like? And then what does the momentum look like? Let me just see if I can get this dashboard up. Let me just try that one more time. Let's just refresh this over here. I'm going to save it. And let me just refresh it, see if it pops up with the hourly time frame. And because what we want to look at is what does the immediate trend dashboard tell us? And is there any particular buying opportunity that we can take advantage of over here? So we've got this over here now. And what I want to look at is, let's just pay attention to this dashboard at the bottom where it says, okay, you've got a bull up trend and a strong bull up trend on the hourly. So there might be some immediate buying opportunities. So let's actually look at this. I'm just going to squeeze this down and let's just look right over here. Right over here. All right, so if we're going long on this and we're taking advantage of this particular market, a bit of detail, but you want to have a strategy that you have some type of follow through. So in other words, maybe the market goes above this point and have a stop loss down here. And if it breaks, this low shouldn't get exceeded and there should be some upside potential. But it's getting in a bit of detail here with the trend identifier and the dashboard itself. But what I'm looking at really is the macro picture with Litecoin. And right now, me personally, I go, there's not enough in it for me to take this particular trade. So what I would look for is just to set an alert for if the price reaches this zone, then more than likely it's going to come towards the end of a correction. And if that's the case, and if the dashboard will tell us in terms of the momentum, we want to then look for shorting opportunities. In other words, it may top out over here. And if it ends up being an A, B, C style correction, more often than not, especially if this low gets exceeded, we'll probably get a follow through to the downside. And if that's the case, the opportunity is worth waiting. So there you have it. So Bitcoin, stand aside. Ethereum, stand aside. Short term Litecoin opportunities on buying. Again, it depends on your trading strategy and risk tolerance and if you're a day trader or not. But me personally, I would want to wait for a few days and see how it kind of pans out and look for further shorting opportunities. So check it out. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can get the trend identifier, the dashboard, the signals, and a whole lot of goodies, £1, and you get to just test it all out. We're getting some phenomenal feedback. We only launched this the other day with the internal community, and everyone is absolutely loving it. So tell me what you think. So there we have it. So like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'm going to keep, building tools, and we're doing a lot of updates as well, just to make it more valuable, because sometimes it's difficult and everything is difficult before it's easy, and that's just the nature of life. So let's finish on a quote other than that one. It's one of my favorites when it comes to trading. The trend is your friend. Ride it until its end, until it reaches its bend. There you have it. All right. See you soon.